Hey gang, welcome back to this episode of Laughing Place on Location. I'm Jeremiah, your host, and today we're going to be exploring EPCOT's International Flower and Garden Festival. The Flower and Garden Festival this year is actually celebrating its 30th anniversary. Some of you may have visited in the past, seen some of the topiaries we're going to look at, but we're also going to look at some of the new topiaries, explore some of the merchandise, try some of the drinks, and look at some of the pretty flowers. So let's start off this tour of the International Flower and Garden Festival here at EPCOT with a look at the welcoming topiaries, which this year is Moana, Hey Hey, Pua, and of course Maui. This is to celebrate Moana 2 that's now out on digital. Check it out on Disney Plus if you haven't done that already. But this is a fun topiary. Maui is probably one of the biggest that they've had out here in a long time. Also at night, Moana's oar and Maui's hook lights up. But my favorite part is definitely Pua and Hey Hey right here, because you can never go wrong with a little Hey Hey in your life. Communicore Hall, which has become the festival central as of late for the Flower and Garden Festival, is quite decorated with large flowers, different topiaries, plenty of banners. And something that I love, these large books that talk about different planting methods. This is the flower towers, not to confuse the flower power. Knowledge about the moons, forecast for birds that can affect the Flower and Garden Festival, definitely. And then, of course, the EPCOT Festival Almanac talks about the history of it, how it's been going since 1994. It originally ran for 38 days. Now we are up to almost 3 months of this festival. So it is definitely a fun time to be here at EPCOT. And this spring is always beautiful. I love this because it talks about topiaries. And topiaries are something we're going to go into quite a bit as we walk around, taking a look at how these works of art are not only plants, but they're also structures that they're built around. Of course, the Flower and Garden Festival has been going for 30 years, and some of the topiaries are brand new, like the ones up in front, and look almost like the characters. And some are still the older style topiaries that are more of the actual plants. Topiaries are, metal constructions with plants on them, so they're designed to look like different characters. And here, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, you can see, are the older style, and they are covered almost completely with the plants. And these look like to be succulents, which are one of the ones that they use more often here at the Flower and Garden Festival because they last a lot longer. So the name of this game is Flower and Garden Festival. So besides the topiaries, they do have some gardens. This one, of course, is the community garden. Talks about how community gardens can exist anywhere, and it helps the people in the community all come together. This one does have Donald in the background, but you can see there are different displays of different flowers and plants that help explain it all. Here's one of my favorite gardens. It's the Prehistoric Plants Garden. This, funny enough, started just as a small display at the exit of the Universe of Energy probably over a decade ago, and it's grown and shrunk depending on the location. They moved it to a location closer to the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind attraction, formerly the Ellen's Energy Adventure Universe of Energy building. So you kind of get the feel, and it not only talks about prehistoric plants that are still around today, but they've also put in these fun little plastic dinosaurs that really, I had these as a kid, and they're just fun to look at. Here's one of the newer topiaries. It was set in the past 2 or 3 years, and it is Groot, or at least teenage Groot. And like I said about the flowers and designs of the topiary, this one has some greenery on it, but looks much more like an actual figure. And if we stand here long enough, we may hear the tape start to play, the Greenhouse Mix Volume 1, and play some of Star-Lord's favorite music. One of the true highlights of the Flower and Garden Festival are these giant flower beds that are replanted quite often with different designs to not only enhance the beauty of the park, but just to make it feel like the entire park is celebrating the festival. Over the years, we've seen topiaries come and go. They'll appear one year and never to be seen again. Thankfully, the Phineas and Ferb topiaries here disappeared a few years ago, but in anticipation of the new season coming to Disney Plus, Phineas and Ferb are back in the park and they're trying to figure out what to do today. Of course, the original character design for Magic Kingdom back in 1971, the Orange Bird, has become the really icon for the Flower and Garden Festival, with most of the merchandise having some representation of not only him, but we'll also see Spike the Bee, who will do the scavenger hunt for. But it's just so entertaining to see this little character who disappeared for many decades be featured so prominently on all of this merchandise. It really is hard to not buy all of it. On the walkway between World Showcase and World Celebration, they have this large character topiary with Chippendale, Minnie, Pluto, and then of course there's Mickey in the background. And this is a great compilation of different topiaries from throughout the years they've just repurposed to fit this picnic storyline. Of course, I still don't understand exactly what Mickey is doing with the badminton racket and a kite. Maybe it's a new hybrid game. Scentsy has become a sponsor here at Walt Disney World, and what better time than the Flower and Garden Festival for them to really show their different smells. So they have this Blossoms of Fragrance garden. Of all the 5 senses, scent is the most strongly connected to memory. So what did they do? They have these giant butterflies that are topiaries. And then in front of each, they have 2 different smells that come out through this little scent. So it will tie your memory to the Flower and Garden Festival of the serene succulent. This is one of my favorite scents, the Hibiscus Sunset. Of course, you can't go wrong with honeysuckle dew. As I was saying, they often reuse the topiaries. These are from a few years ago with Encanto. And these were up in the front, just like the Moana and Maui one. And now they're back as you head into World Showcase. And really, just Maribel here looks amazing. And just like with Maui at night, her butterfly lights up. So this takes on a whole different level when the night comes. Of course, Pixar is represented here. Here we have the Coco display with Miguel and Dante. Now Dante and Miguel welcome you to Mexico, but once you're inside Mexico and you're exiting the pyramid, there's the tropical rainforest garden, which is amazing as the season goes by. This event runs for multiple months, and just watching all of this bloom and get more dense as the months go on is a great reason to return to EPCOT over and over again. Now, if there's one topiary for me that is synonymous with the Flower and Garden Festival, it is this troll found in Norway. I can remember 2 decades ago coming to the Flower and Garden Festival, and he was one of the largest topiaries at that time, and he still is out to this day. Going back into the realm of the gardens, we have the bonsai tree display here in front of the China Pavilion, with some of these trees being worked on for decades. And you get to see the true artistry. And not only do they talk about how long they've been worked on and how old the tree is, but they do talk about the person who has been working on it all this time. In the China Pavilion, not only do they have these beautiful bonsai trees on display, but they also have some more of the older topiary styles, the playful pandas. These have been around for as long as I can remember, and they are always so much fun just to come over and look at. And you get a chance to get up close and see what they are made of and how they are plants eating eucalyptus, more plants. An example of topiaries not just being all flowers definitely came about with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. As you can see, Snow White's dress is definitely all flowers, but once you get up to her arms and face, they're not so much. But it is still one of the most beautiful topiaries. One of the most impressive displays has to come from 6 of the 7 dwarfs. As we saw Dopey standing with Snow White, we have the other dwarfs here on display as they are marching home from work. You can see definitely how detailed these are, because you get back here to Bashful and his face is actually red, like he's embarrassed. But one of the Laughing Place's favorites is, of course, Sneezy, with the little caterpillar hiding on his nose. One of the reoccurring themes here at the Flower and Garden Festival, especially in the World Showcase, is representing each of the pavilions or countries by their flowers or stories. And this one is in front of Germany and is the Gnome Garden. As we see topiaries or plants shaped to look like different gnomes. Something else celebrating 30 years is the miniature train display here in the Germany Pavilion. This was created for the very first Flower and Garden Festival and was so popular it just became a permanent fixture here at EPCOT. Normally there are trains running all throughout the location, but what they have done is set up different miniature houses that fit perfectly with the G-scale trains that run these tracks. Italy, we have Lady and the Tramp, true Bell'amore. Although it took many, many years for America to get her own princess, we do have one of the most beautiful of all, Princess Tiana, here at the American Adventure. Outside the Japan Pavilion, we have a true bonsai display. These are much more traditional, and just look, so amazing. The care that goes into creating these. One of the most spectacular topiaries is this dragon now in Japan. It is a massive topiary, and as we go in a little bit closer, you can see that all the plants on there are succulents. So they don't need as much water as some of the other plants, and they can survive in the Florida elements. One of the most unique gifts you can take home are these assorted topiaries, which you pretty much take home, water, and will grow into their own bunnies or elephants, ducks, alligators, but then there's my favorite, your own Mickey plant. Morocco, of course, is known for its different spices, so here at the Moroccan Pavilion, you have a spice garden. Now, as a massive Muppet fan, Kermit and Miss Piggy here are two of my all-time favorite topiaries. These were actually brought into the Flower and Garden Festival back when Muppets Most Wanted opened, and have thankfully stuck around since then. One of the first translations of animation to topiary is Belle and the Beast here in the France Pavilion. It's almost like she stepped out of the animated feature and stood right next to the Beast. Now, of course, you can't have Belle and the Beast without Lumiere and Cogsworth, and these two have special features. Lumiere actually lights up the flames at night, and Cogsworth, as you can see, is ticking. Here in the UK Pavilion, they have Tinkerbell on display, but she's not on her own. There are also the other fairy cottages all around her. Of course, talking about the original type topiaries where they're more plants than structure. Of course, you can see Winnie the Pooh's quite fluffy here, while Rabbit doesn't have quite the structure as some of the other ones, but you can see that he is much more plant than metal armatures. Now, just across from Rabbit and Pooh, we have Tigger, Eeyore, and Piglet. And these are some of the original topiaries that have been around for almost 30 years. Now, one of the fan favorite displays that we look forward to each year has to be TikTok. But then, of course, if you have TikTok, you have to have the old codfish Captain Hook and Peter Pan. And these always jump around in the UK Pavilion, but they're just so much fun. You can almost see Peter Pan jumping out of the pages and flying away to Neverland. As with all the festivals here at EPCOT, they always have a scavenger hunt. For the Flower and Garden Festival, it spikes pollination exploration. And it takes you all around not only World Showcase, but also the World Celebration area, World Discovery. And after you found all the spikes, the bees, not metal spikes, you can choose from one of these flowering pots. There's Mickey Mouse, the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, quite a random one. And then, of course, we have Spike the bee, and everybody's favorite, the orange bird. So all topiaries have to begin as maquettes, and they went into the archives of the Flower and Garden Festival and pulled out some of the older maquettes, including the Phineas and Ferb, Figment, Anna and Elsa, and Bo Peep. For me, the Anna and Elsa ones really are the ones that redefine the Flower and Garden Festival. They really took the animated feature and brought them to life with the sisters. I really enjoy how in Communicore Hall they talk about the different things you'll see around the park, such as the floating gardens, and you can even get an up-close look at what one of the metal structures underneath a topiary would look like if Mickey Mouse was, a 1.5 feet tall. In the center of Communicore Hall, they had this large planter, and on the top of it, one of the mascots of the Flower and Garden Festival, Spike the bee. One of the displays that we saw in the Communicore Hall was about the floating planters. These have been an iconic item here at the International Flower and Garden Festival as long as I can remember. And I love that they've spread them around not just in one of the small ponds, but throughout World Celebration and World Discovery. Some topiaries are reused from year to year. Some appear once and then disappear. Asha, Star, and Valentino actually were the entrance topiaries last year. You can't really see it that well, but Star does light up with Asha's magic string, and This is a beautiful sight at night, but here during the day, it's just a great thing to sit and relax by. One of the guest favorites for many years has been the butterfly garden here at the Flower and Garden Festival. This year it is the Butterfly Landing presented by Advent Health. Let's take a walk inside and see what we can see. The festival's been going for a few weeks, so they're quite active, and it's gotten warmer as the season has gone on, so let's see how it's looking. The butterfly garden is populated with many plants that the butterflies love. So they are inside this tent, and then as you start to look around, you'll see them everywhere. One of the aspects of the Flower and Garden Festival is always the do it at home. And here at the Butterfly Landing, they have the complete way to create your own butterfly habitat in your backyard. Guests who return time and time again to the Butterfly Garden can actually see the butterflies go through the different stages from their cocoon to spreading their wings and flying around. Added this year is the Disney Pixar Inside Out 2 Emotion Garden. This garden has colorful planters along with plants that coincide with those colors that also coincide with emotions. Here we have the sad plants. Sadness likes to say hello when you're feeling blue. She prefers her flower indigo and plants that cry boo-hoo. Off in the distance, of course, we have joy. In the center is a large memory orb, topiary. And then, of course, my favorite is the disgusting plants, which, spinach. Yep, disgusting. They have all the original emotions, and then off to the other side of the walkway towards the Imagination Pavilion, they have the new emotions from Inside Out 2. From the Pineapple Promenade, we have the spicy hot dog with pineapple chutney and plantain chips. But the real reason for this season is the frozen dessert violet lemonade. I can remember the first year that they had this, and I think every week I came and visited just to have one of these. Cheers to the violet lemonade, the best drink that you could have at EPCOT. The violet lemonade is my favorite drink, but my favorite dessert has to be the fruit cereal shake over at the BrunchCot near Test Track. It is a shake with fruit-flavored circles that are cereal in them. We don't call them Fruit Loops, we call them fruit-flavored circles. Each year the Flower and Garden Festival has different icons and logos and representatives. This year they actually added Alice in Wonderland. The caterpillar, as we saw earlier, is one of the gifts with the spikes, pollination, exploration, scavenger hunt. But with the merchandise, they actually created a bread and butter fly. And then as we pan over, we can see some of the spike merchandise. Of course, lots celebrating the 30th. A fun little honey pot with spike on it. Here's more of the Alice in Wonderland merchandise with the bread and butterflies and the caterpillar. Really did a cute line with all the new Alice stuff. This is something we haven't seen before here at the Flower and Garden Festival. They even have a little flower pot with a caterpillar on it. But the teacups are super cute. Nice little cute glasses. And then, of course, a nice little rain jacket that fits in the bag with the Flower and Garden Festival logo right there. While this isn't specific to the EPCOT International Flower and Garden Festival, these houses were put up a few years ago for the purple martins that migrate through here. EPCOT has been the host of the purple martins for over 20 years, and they stop by all the time just to move into their house. I wonder if they have keys for each of the letters. So to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the EPCOT International Flower and Garden Festival, they did something very unique and created trash cans based off the salt and pepper shaker trash cans that they've sold for a few years. This one is the orange bird. It even has on the top the little tree that if you have the salt and pepper shaker, that is where the holes are for the dispensary. And here we have Spike the Bees trash can, just like with the orange bird, spikes on one side, flower design, and then what we're celebrating, the EPCOT International Flower and Garden Festival. Over the past few festivals, Living with the Land attraction has added overlays that coincide with each festival, such as the holiday lights during the Festival of the Holidays, and then during Fest of the Arts they added in small little touches. This could be one of the largest overlays, where in each of the different areas they've added princess touches, such as Rapunzel in the final room with hidden pascals. In the first greenhouse, there is Moana's ship. And then we have Belle and the Beast table that they're enjoying a nice dinner. And my favorite is the gumbo pot from Princess Tiana. She's getting all the ingredients to make her world-famous gumbo. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this tour of EPCOT's International Flower and Festival for the 2025 season. We saw some topiaries, tried some drinks, rode Living with the Land, had a great time. If you want to stay up to date with all things Laughing Place, make sure you follow us on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, X. We are even on Blue Sky. Go check us out. For Laughing Place, I'm Jeremiah. Stay tuned for the next episode coming soon to a channel near you.